Well, these eluded me for an afternoon. I thought I'd have an easy day yesterday. Just looked for a few bits all afternoon, going through various sheds and boxes and crates. And it was where the first place I looked. I could only see that. I knew what they looked like, but could I find them? As I need these gutter fixings so I can offer them up, so I know how far the roof's got to project into the guttering for the water. But it took me an afternoon, so I had done me back in, so I'm having a couple of days doing nothing to very little with regards to anything, just finding sort of a few light duty jobs to keep me hand in. But otherwise, yeah, we're still at the minute 4 sheets up. A bit windy at a day anyway, but I could have lined them up. It's been a nice couple of days, but unfortunately my back's got other plans. Well, it's been a few days since my last snippet. There's an ominous hole in the roof there where the sheets lifted, hoping it's just the wind and not prying eyes. We have got my large trestles out, so I'm going to have to put them in the backyard out there to lay the smaller sheets on that are going to go up here, so that I can cut them to size and get 4 in this side and sort those 4 out, and then I'm sort of battened up more or less and can start thinking about this rotten section, which I can then close off if I can get, again, probably all of that done, or at least one. Then that means I can finish this piece off, and that will close up the open section that's just about accessible from the road. But yeah, there's been no progress other than that at the minute, because after the last video I'd sort of thought to myself, I'm doing quite well here, I haven't been buggered up with my bad backs and whatnot, and then yeah, I brought it upon myself. So I've been laid up for just over a week, so you know, I just didn't, well, we haven't had the weather again. It's sort of a bit frustrating to start with, because it was the nice days to finish off, but I was just too buggered up to do it. And if I do sort of attempt, then I'm just going to prolong you know, the damage I have done. So it just takes me longer to sort of get over things than a normal physical person. So I dug these out, they're nice and wide to fit the sheets, and I use one of these roofing bars as a straight edge to clamp to the sheets with these small little clamps I've dug out as well. And my electric nibbler that attaches to a drill has disappeared. I asked the son, but he says he hasn't got it. I have got a hand one called a Monodex cutter, which would do it, but I don't think the muscles in my hand would cut in a sheet 1 metre wide when you got to do 5 sheets. So I've got this air operated one, which is a bit of a vicious. The minute you take your eyes off the ball, this thing's not cutting a straight. It's not a high-end one, but hence the straight edge, so that I can run it along the face there, and that just chips out. And I don't want to do it in the yard, because it's just like a steel rod with a little notch in it, and that notch engages in your sheet and chips out a piece, and they're sort of going up 100 times a second, so you get these tiny little crescents of steel which are going to get in everything and anything. And with dogs, I obviously don't want them getting in my boots, feet, hands, or their paws. So I'll update you when there is something going on, which will probably be Monday now, because it's supposed to be fair weather, so fingers crossed. So an easy job for me today is just to, most of these sheets have got a double hole bracket fitting, and then over the other side there's a single hole. So whether it had some conduit running through it or something, I don't know. They had a little rubber gasket on there, and then whatever they had on top looked like a cable for a saddle, they're called, for conduit, something like that. So I'm just knocking them flat, and I'm going to enlarge the holes because I've got these large head rivets. I'm going to use them to fill the holes with a little bit of grey silicone in them just to seal them up, rather than just put a bit of silicone on and hope for the best and then find this an issue later down the road. So that's the end finish. A slight bead around that one. There was a little mess of a hole there, and that one there, so there's sort of 3 every sheet. It's the same with the big ones the other side. I've got to go up and do them as I unscrew them and true them up. I'll do them while I can get to them, rather than risk trying to stay on one of these sheets and not slide down it. Well, the air nibbler's sort of done okay. I've had to go over it again in places where obviously I've got no support in the sheet as it sags. So sometimes you're against that bit and sometimes you're against that bit. But these are the little shards that it spits out that get everywhere. But we've got a blue sky. As you can see, the clouds aren't slowly moving. So contrary to today's weather forecast, which was supposed to be 15 km/h winds, they're now 20 to 30. So hopefully as time goes on it might calm down and I can at least try one sheet that side. Well, I don't know whether the microphone's picking up the wind, but we've got 3 done. It's a bit awkward even just lifting them up off of this, putting them up there. Hopefully they'll stay up there for the night. I've done the 3 because I figured probably by the 4th one I may need to make adjustments. And the wind's not cut down unfortunately, so I can't move any more. I might leave them where they are. But between the house and the garage there's just this space. It doesn't get a lot of wind pressure build up through here. It funnels it. Something to weigh this down first, but that's not a very productive Monday. Time for a bit more cutting. Right, I've done 3 sheets as I said in the last snippet. The first one I'd done at the top end. Now the large flap of metal overlaps, doesn't overlap that one, so that one basically meant it was cut the wrong end. Not the end of the world if it had been a sheet that was going to be overlapped, but because that cut end would be on the drip end where all the guttering is, it's going to be constantly exposed to water and moisture and will obviously rust, and then I'll end up having to change it or repair it at some stage. So I opted not to use that and cut the other 2 sheets of this waste end, which will be over the verge cover. So we've got 2 sheets in properly, all screwed down, sealed. Bit of a hassle, quite a stretch at the pitch of the roof. So I'll cut next to the upper decks. Bit of noise over there, I had to stop. They're vector thrusting, playing with their planes. US Air Force again. Right, just had a travelling gentleman turn up, as scrap's now 160 a tonne now, so they spotted the old van. That's about the third one in as many weeks. You can always tell when the scrap price is up because they start knocking on the doors. I like to keep my shit, as you've probably realised. Well, I'm going to weigh it in, I'll do it myself. Right, so there we are. They're the two that are fixed in with the joint sealed and screwed up. And we should have about 3/4 overhang for the gutter and to come off here. Obviously I've got to trim back the felt. So I was hoping to get the 4 in, but I think with the balls up hold up and uninvited guests, they're I think I'll manage to get the 2 cut and probably 1 up before I lose the light, because it takes me a good half an hour, 40 minutes to get the tarpaulin back up over and get that all roped back down. Well, third one's in. I haven't time checked, but sun's getting low. I think we'll have a go. Got nothing to lose apart from time. So what I do is slide it in place, line it up by eye, clamp it there to stop it sliding down, then again sort of line her up, put another clamp in, and then I'm measuring off this last new joist against that. Then as long as it's square I mark off, put a couple of idents in with the screws, take it off, run the beader sealer down, put it back up, line it up with the screw holes and start zipping it in. I don't know whether we can see them. Can't zoom when I'm recording for some brilliant reason. A couple of typhoons up there anyway. So she's up, top's secured, got a couple down the bottom, then I put a screw in and drop a line across, and then I can follow that pattern so I don't miss the pattern and make a hole where there's no wood. Guess where I fooked up. 4 on, zipped in and sealed up, so mission accomplished. Permanently fixed in, as long as we don't get a 120-mile-an-hour hurricane before I get it all done. So next job is to sort out the other ones the other side and do exactly the same, line them all up, seal them and screw them all down permanently. Then we get up to this stage and flip the tarpaulin round and start all over again. Well, that's the old bit to do. Just the other bit hopefully tomorrow, but that's enough for today. I've managed to get the sheet back on. I'm in agony, so I think it is time for a beer somewhere. What shall we have? Oop. Cheers.